You have been lied to about the nature of manifestation. You have been taught to chase after things, to plead with the universe, to beg a distant God for crumbs from the table. This is not truth. It is a profound and sleep-inducing error. I am here to tell you that what you seek is not outside of you waiting to be gathered. It is within you waiting to be recognized. There is a power, a presence, a divine activity already in operation where you are. Your very awareness is its dwelling place. You believe manifestation takes time, effort, and struggle. I tell you, it is the effortless recognition of what already is. In the next 10 minutes, you will not learn a technique, but you will be invited into a realization. You will be shown not how to get, but how to perceive. You will see that the kingdom, the fulfillment, the harmony, the completeness is already established, and your acceptance of this is the only event that need occur. Prepare now to turn completely inward. Silence the claimer of the world and listen. What you will hear is the still, small voice of your own being, and in that listening, you will find everything. If this touches a knowing within you, if you feel the pull of this truth, then consecrate this moment. Sanctify your commitment by subscribing to this channel that this light may find you again. And below, inscribe the sacred number 11, the symbol of alignment and spiritual awakening to bear witness that you are ready. Consider the profound and unsettling fact that for your entire life, you have been looking in the wrong direction. You have been educated to believe in a universe of separation, where you are here and your clear's throat good, your supply, your health, your peace is out there, a distant object to be pursued, captured and secured through personal will and clever action. This is the great illusion, the root of all striving and all fatigue. It is the belief that has you bargaining with life, setting conditions, and measuring your worth by your acquisitions. You watch the clock, you count the days, you weigh the odds, and in this frantic arithmetic, you overlook the single simple and shocking truth. The very power you seek to employ from without is already fully active within the very center of your own consciousness. It is not a power you must build, earn, or deserve. It is the very substance of your being, the very breath of your awareness. It is the I that animates you, the silent knowing behind your thoughts. To seek it externally is to stand in a sunlit room, searching desperately for a candle. Think of your daily life. You sit at your desk, burdened by a problem of supply, feeling the lack, calculating the dwindling resources. Or you lie awake, the mind racing with a challenge in your relationships, snorts rehearsing dialogues and nursing wounds. In these moments, where is your focus? It is entirely captivated by the outer form of the problem, the empty bank statement, the harsh word that was spoken, the aching body. You are pouring all your consciousness, which is your very creative power, into the contemplation of absence of discord of disease. You are in effect worshipping the problem, giving it substance and reality by the steadfast direction of your attention. You are like a man in a vast library, staring fixedly at a single empty spot on a shelf, declaring there are no books, while surrounded from floor to ceiling by boundless volumes of wisdom and clear's throat narrative. The emptiness is real to him only because he has chosen to focus on it to the exclusion of all else. This is where the great turn must occur. It is not a turn in your circumstances, but a turn in your attention. It is the willingness to withdraw your gaze from the panorama of effects, the troubling symptoms of life, and to redirect it to the cause, which is this indwelling presence. You do not do this to get something. You do this because it is the only factual true place to look. When you are watching a movie, you can become so absorbed in the drama on the screen, the hero's peril, the villain's plot, that you forget entirely the one indispensable factor, the projector's light. Without that steady, silent, impartial light flooding through the film, there is no image at all, neither good nor bad. Your life, experience is that moving picture. Your beliefs, memories, and fears are the film. But the animating light, the very power that gives any experience form and motion, is this divine consciousness within you. It is utterly impartial. It projects prosperity when your mental film is of abundance. It projects limitation when your mental film is of lack. But it itself is never poor, never sick, never lonely. It is the eternal shining I am. Therefore, the work is never to fix the picture, by manipulating the screen. The work is always only to become consciously aware of the light itself. This is an interaction of the most subtle and potent kind. In the midst of that troubling situation, you pause. You cease for one moment to be a reactor to the outer picture. You become still. You consciously take your stand not as the person facing a problem, but as the very awareness in which this entire scene is appearing. You acknowledge this sense of lack, this fear, this pain is appearing to me. But I am not it. I am the aware space in which this is known. And this aware space I am is one with the infinite creative light. You are not denying the human experience. You are shifting your primary identity from the human experience to the divine experiencer. You are in that sacred pause, plugging your consciousness back into its source like a lamp reconnected to the electrical current. From this conscious re-entering, a profound recalibration takes place. It is not your human mind that then goes forth to solve the problem. It is that the peace which passes understanding, the intelligence which is God, begins to flow into your awareness as your awareness. It may present as a sudden, unexpected intuition, a thought to call a certain person to take a different route to rest. It may dissolve the anxiety around the problem, so you see it with a detached clarity that reveals a simple solution. Or quite often the outer picture itself may shift in ways you could not have engineered, as if the old film strip were gently replaced. A check arrives from a forgotten source. A conflict resolves without your intervention. A door opens where there was only a wall. This is not your personal power manipulating the world. This is the natural, harmonious activity of the infinite expressing itself as your life when you have ceased to stand clear's throat in the way by insisting on your personal limited sense of self and power. The river flows effortlessly to the sea. Your only task is to remove the dam of your own misidentification, your own belief that you are separate from the river. The power is within, not external. It has always been here. It is your own self. To look elsewhere is the only mistake. Now you begin to see the radical, liberating, and yin implication of this truth. If the creative power is within your own consciousness, then the entire process you have called manifestation undergoes a complete and utter transformation. It is stripped of all its machinery, its complicated steps, its laborious visualizations, and its anxious affirmations. You come to realize that you have been attempting to acquire what you already in truth possess. You have been seeking to draw to yourself from a distant future that which is already present in the timeless now of your true being. This is the pivot upon which your entire experience turns. Manifestation is not acquisition. It is recognition. Consider the absurdity once seen in this light of your former striving. You desire harmony in your home, so you craft a mental picture of peace. You repeat affirmations of love. You try to behave in a new way, all while in the hidden depths of your consciousness. You are still nursing the old grievances, still bracing for the next conflict, still identifying yourself as the one who has been wronged. You are in effect standing in a fully stocked, brightly lit pantry, staring at a barren shelf and chanting, "I have food, I have food." With your eyes tightly shut to the abundance surrounding you, the pantry is the infinite substance of the divine. Clear's throat, the barren shelf is your persistent belief in lack. Your affirmations are a desperate attempt to convince yourself the shelf is not empty, all the while refusing to open your eyes and simply see the truth of the provision that has never been absent. The peace you seek is not a condition to be manufactured in your relationships. It is the very nature of the divine presence that you are. To recognize this is to let that peace flow forth from you unconditioned by the outer picture. And in that flow, the outer relationships must soften, must adjust, must reflect the harmony you have first acknowledged within. Or you seek financial supply. You follow formulas. You try to think rich thoughts. You attempt to force a feeling of abundance while looking at a bank statement that tells a different story. This creates a war within you, a civil war in consciousness. One part is desperately asserting abundance, while the other deeper part is rooted in the fear of not enough, and which vibration wins? Always the deeper, more entrenched belief. It is like trying to paint a vibrant sunrise over a window while keeping the steel shutters firmly bolted closed. The painting is your technique. The bolted shutter is your unconscious belief in separation from source. You are trying to acquire what you believe you do not have. But what if you stopped painting and simply asked, what is the shutter made of? What if it is not even real? The recognition is this. The substance clears throat of all supply. The very essence of currency is spiritual. It is the activity of the infinite expressing as form and function. You do not need to acquire spirit. You need to recognize that you are a point of its expression, and that as such you are eternally one with its limitless givingness. This recognition is not a mental exercise. It is a profound inner shift of authority. You move from being a beggar at the gate to being the silent knowing of the king's presence within the castle. The beggar focuses on his empty bowl, his tattered clothes, his position outside the walls. His entire reality is one of absence and pleading. But the one who knows his identity as the king's own child does not focus on the bowl. He rests in the knowing of his belonging. He does not acquire the kingdom. He recognizes it as his native state. From that place of restful knowing, action may come, but it will be inspired, spontaneous and effective because it flows from the fullness of the kin. Dom itself, not from the panic of the empty bowl. So your daily practice ceases to be one of building, collecting, and attracting. It becomes one of discerning, unveiling, and acknowledging. In the face of any appearance of lack or discord, you learn to still the mind's chatter. You turn gently within and ask, not, how can I get this? But what is the truth here beneath this appearance? You wait in the silence. You listen. And what you are listening for is not a voice giving you a plan, but a feeling, a knowing, a certainty that rises like the sun, dispelling the shadows of belief. You recognize the shadow for what it is, a temporary absence of light possessing no substance of its own. The light is the reality, the supply, the health, the love you seek. These are not commodities to be obtained. They are aspects of the one divine reality trying to appear as your experience. Your recognition of this is the only condition required for their appearance. You are not a creator exiling yourself from your good. You are the awareness through which the only creator is recognizing its own infinite perfection. When you stop trying to acquire the world, you suddenly find you are the very ground upon which it appears. This recognition, this inner knowing, is the death knell for the entire apparatus of seeking you have constructed. It renders every technique, every formula, every prescribed method not merely useless but a positive hindrance. They are the scaffolding you built around a building that was already complete. And now you are so busy maintaining the scaffolding, checking its bolts, painting its beams, that you cannot enter the finished palace. All methods, all techniques, and all effort are rooted in the same foundational error, the belief that you as a separate human entity must perform an action to achieve a spiritual result. This is the ultimate arrogance and the ultimate source of fatigue. It is the belief that God needs your help, that the infinite requires your finite efforts to bring about its will. I tell you, this is a profound misunderstanding. Your only task is to get out of the way. Your only work is to release the work. Think of the ocean and a wave. The wave, believing itself to be separate, might strive with great effort to be wet, to be salty, to move with power. It might study techniques for proper waving. It might exhaust itself trying to reach a certain height. All this while it is already and has always been the ocean itself. Its wetness, its salt, its power, its very existence are not achievements. They are its inherent nature, given freely by the ocean of which it is an inseparable expression. Your efforts to manifest are the wave's striving. Your release of effort is the wave's sudden relaxing remembrance. I am the ocean. Clears throat in that instant. All striving ceases and the full power of the ocean is expressed as the wave effortlessly. Your daily life is cluttered with these techniques. You set your intentions in the morning, as if informing a forgetful universe of its duties. You repeat affirmations trying to convince an apparently resistant, clears throat mind of a truth it doubts. You visualize with strain, attempting to hold a mental picture against a tide of contradictory evidence. This is all a form of spiritual violence you are committing upon yourself. It is you as the wave trying to thrash your way into being water. Can you not feel the exhaustion in it? Can you not sense the underlying fear? The fear that if you stop doing, if you cease your mental and emotional calisthenics, then nothing will happen. That fear is the final barrier, and it is based on the lie of separation. I ask you to consider a moment of true peace in your life. Perhaps it came watching a sunset or holding a sleeping child, or being so absorbed in a task that you forgot yourself entirely. In that moment, were you employing a technique? Were you affirming, "I am now at peace"? Were you visualizing tranquility? No. In that moment, you simply were the personal striving you receded, and in that quiet emptiness, a natural state of harmony was revealed. That harmony was not created, it was uncovered. It was always there beneath the noise of your efforts. This is the secret. All you seek, peace, wholeness, supply, joy, is already fully present as the fabric of your true being. Your frantic doing is like a man in a quiet room, shouting and clanging cymbals to produce silence, never realizing that silence is the condition that appears when he finally stops making noise. Therefore, the path is one of supreme subtraction, not addition. It is the path of letting go. You do not practice the presence of God. You relinquish the presence of the personal self that obscures God. In the face of a challenge, instead of reaching for a new spiritual tool from your belt, you do the one thing that feels most counterintuitive. You cease reaching, you become still, you turn within and consciously drop the burden of being the solver, the fixer, the achiever. You say, "Not my will, but thine," but you must mean it. You must surrender the very identity of the one who has a separate will. You are not surrendering to a distant deity. You are surrendering the illusion that you are separate from that deity. This is the sacred inactivity. It is not passive. It is intensely alive with a receptive potency. It is the action of the soil receiving the seed of the window, allowing the light. The soil does not manufacture the plant. It yields to the life within the seed. The window does not create the sunshine. It merely ceases to be opaque. Your release of effort is your transparency. In that transparency, the infinite intelligence, which is your own deepest self, moves. It may move you to an action, but that action will feel inspired, effortless, and clear, a natural next step, not a Herculean labor. Or it may move the universe around you, arranging circumstances with a synchronicity that leaves you in awe. But you must give up the res. You must abandon the driver's seat of personal will and sink into the passenger seat of conscious awareness, knowing the vehicle is guided by a wisdom that knows the destination far better than your fearful calculating mind ever could. The technique is the illusion of control. The surrender is the acceptance of the omnipresent, omniscient control that is already in perfect operation. Your peace comes when you stop trying to steer the stars. So where do you go when you have released the techniques? When you have set down the burden of being the creator and surrendered the frantic activity of the personal will, where is there to stand? You are left not with emptiness, but with a profound and fertile silence. This is not a void, but a fullness, awaiting your conscious awareness. You are instructed now to turn away from the outer panorama, the captivating, terrifying, all-consuming movie of your life circumstances, and to enter the silence of your own being. This is the Holy of Holies. This is the inner sanctuary, where no problem has ever entered, where no lack has ever been known. It is the still center of the cyclone, the unwavering I am behind the ever-changing drama of I am this or I am that. Snorts, you believe your identity to be the thoughts that race, the emotions that surge, the roles you play, the parent, the employee, the sufferer, the seeker. These are but costumes worn by the actor. The actor is not the costume. To enter the silence of your own being is to walk backstage to the quiet dressing room where you remove one by one these heavy garments of assumed identity. You take off the coat of your profession. You unclasp the necklace of your relationships. You step out of the shoes of your past failures and future anxieties. And who remains? A presence, a knowing, a conscious awareness clears throat that was there before the first costume was ever put on and will be there after the final curtain falls. This is your being. It is silent because it does not need to proclaim itself. It is stable because it is untouched by the scenes it witnesses. It is here now waiting for your attention to rest in it, rather than on the performance. Your daily life provides constant, urgent invitations to enter this silence, but you have misread them as calls to louder action. that moment of sheer overwhelm when the mind simply short-circuits under the weight of its own planning. That is not a breakdown. It is an invitation. The gut punch of bad news that leaves you momentarily wordless, breathless. That is not an attack. It is a portal. The deep loneliness that can surface even in a crowd, a feeling of being fundamentally separate from the play of life around you. That is not a curse. It is a divine homesickness, a pull toward the only true home. There is the silent ground of your own self. In these moments, the machinery of personality grinds to a halt. And in that sudden cessation of noise, if you are attentive, you can hear the hum of the silence beneath. That hum is not a sound but a vibration of pure being. It is the eternal I am. Do not confuse this with meditation as it clears throat is commonly taught. A practice you do for 20 minutes to achieve calm. This is not something you do, it is somewhere you go, a dimension of your own consciousness you consciously inhabit, even with eyes open, in the midst of the marketplace. It begins with a simple, deliberate withdrawal of the focus of your attention from the objects of consciousness, O consciousness itself. Right now, as you read these words, become aware of the one who is reading. Not the thinker of the thoughts about the words, but the space in which the thinking happens. Feel the awareness that is present before the thought arises. That is the entry point. It is a feeling of stepping back, of becoming the witness, the impartial observer of your own mental and emotional landscape. You see the anger, but you are not the anger. You see the fear, but you are not the fear. You see the plan forming, but you are not the planner. You are the silent knowing presence beholding it all. This is the great power. From this citadel of inner silence, the outer world loses its capacity to tyrannize you. A financial reversal is seen as waves on the surface of the ocean of your being. Turbulent, perhaps, clears throat, but incapable of disturbing the depths. A relational conflict is witnessed as a clash of costumes, while you rest as the unchanging awareness behind your own role. This does not make you passive or indifferent. On the contrary, it connects you to the source of all intelligent action from the noisy level of personality. Your actions are reactions conditioned, defensive, and often misguided. From the silence of your being, action clears throat may still come, but it will be a clear, spontaneous, compassionate response uninfluenced by the panic of the ego. It will have the power of truth behind it, not the force of personal will. The silence is not a retreat from life, it is the discovery of the only place from which life can be lived, truly, freely, and without fear. You are not going into a cave, you are finding the cave within and from its unshakable peace. You engage with the world, knowing yourself to be in it, but not of it. The storm rages, but you have found the bedrock, and in that finding you realize the storm itself is happening within vast silent expanse of your own awareness. From that sanctuary of inner silence, a new capacity is clear throat born. It is not the capacity to speak, but to listen, not with the physical ear, but with the very substance of your awareness. Having ceased the clamor of your own thoughts, the endless petitioning of your personal will, you create a void, a holy emptiness that is not empty at all, but is the perfect receptor for a different frequency of knowing. This is where you learn to listen clear throat for the impersonal voice of the infinite. Do not expect a thunderclap or a human voice speaking sentences in your head. That is the language of form, and this is the communication of pure spirit. It is more subtle, more intimate, and more authoritative than any sound. It is the sudden, unexpected knowing that arrives whole without process. It is the intuitive pull that makes no logical sense yet carries the weight of granite certainty. It is the solution to a problem that appears not as a reasoned argument, but as a quiet revelation, washing away the question itself. This voice does not come to you, it speaks as you from the very center of your own realized being. In your old paradigm, you sought answers. You would take your problem and mentally shout it toward the heavens, then wait for a response to come down from on high. You were like a man in a house, using a megaphone to call out the window to a distant neighbor for a glass of water, all the while standing ankle deep in a fresh, cool spring that wells up through the floorboards of the very room he occupies. The impersonal voice is the sound of that spring. It is not external counsel, It is the bubbling up of your own divine source. It is the activity of the infinite interpreting itself to your human awareness. It is God knowing God as your life. You have felt its touch, though you may have credited it to luck or random intuition. That moment when you were thinking of someone and the phone rang, it was them. That sudden clear instruction that arose in a crisis: turn left here or say nothing now or reach out to this person. You obeyed and a disaster was averted or a door opened. That was not your clever mind. Your clever mind was likely arguing for the opposite action. That was the impersonal voice. Or consider the artist who, after straining and struggling with a piece, finally gives up in frustration. He walks away, and in the shower or while washing dishes, the entire completed form of the work flashes before him, gift-wrapped and perfect. He did not create it, he received it. He became silent enough, empty enough for the creativity that is the universe itself to flow through his channel unimpeded. The musician who finds the melody, the scientist who discovers the principle in a dream, the writer whose characters suddenly speak of their own accord. They are all witnessing the same phenomenon. The personal mind has stepped aside, and the impersonal intelligence is singing its own song. Your practice now is to cultivate a listening so deep it becomes a state of being. You move through your day, not as a problem solver, but as a witness attuned to this subtle frequency. You sit with a decision, not by listing pros and cons, but by quieting the list maker and asking, what is the truth of this? And then waiting not for words, but for a settling, a leaning, a feeling of inner congruence. You face a conflict, not by rehearsing your defense, but by becoming still and asking, what is the reality here beyond our two positions? And then listening for the knowing that brings compassion or clarity. This listening dissolves paradoxes. The human mind sees opposites: strength and weakness, success and failure, health and clears throat sickness. The impersonal voice reveals the underlying reality, the spiritual fact that transcends the pair. It does not see a sick person to be healed. It knows the eternal perfection of being untouched by appearance. From that knowing, human experience reorganizes itself. This is why all true healing, all true supply, all true peace comes as a surprise. It arrives not as the logical conclusion of your efforts, but as a grace, an epiphany that seems to come from nowhere, because it comes from the everywhere that is within you. You stop listening for instructions on how to fix the world, and you start listening for the truth of the world's spiritual substance. And in that listening, you are not a person receiving a message. You are the very medium through which the message of eternal harmony is being broadcast. The static of your personal thoughts has cleared. The station is always transmitting. The voice is ceaselessly speaking the word of your wholeness. Your entire life becomes an act of tuning in until you realize you are not the radio receiving the signal. You are the signal itself and the silence from which it emanates. This is the final liberating realization that makes all the prior steps not a path but a homecoming. You have searched for an instrument, a tool, a secret method to wield this power. You have looked for a wand when you were meant to recognize that you are the magic itself. The ultimate truth is this: pure awareness is the only necessary instrument. Nothing else is required. No special state of mind, no purified emotion, no accumulated knowledge, no sanctified location. The pure, simple, ever-present fact of your own conscious awareness is the sacred space where the infinite meets the apparent individual, where the formless takes form, where the unmanifest becomes your experience. Your awareness is not clear's throat, a thing you have. It is what you are, and it is already right now perfectly designed to be the very point of translation for spirit into your world. Consider the simplest act of perception. You look at a tree. Your human mind may label it, judge its beauty, recall memories of other trees. But before all that, there is the pure, unaided, adorned seeing. That seeing is awareness in action. The light reflects off the tree, enters your eye, becomes electrical impulses. But the knowing of the tree, the conscious experience of its presence, that is the miracle occurring in the field of your awareness. That field is not in your brain. Your brain is within it. This awareness is the screen upon which the entire movie of Tree, Self, and Clear's throat world is projected. You have been fascinated by the images, analyzing the plot, weeping at the dramas, all while forgetting the screen. But the screen is the only indispensable element. Without it, no movie can appear. Your awareness is that screen, immaculate, untouched, and ever-present. It is the instrument that allows any and every experience to be known. This means that in every moment, no matter how DA or ecstatic the content of your experience seems to be, the instrument of your transformation is already fully operational. You do not need to improve it, clean it, or earn it. You need only to shift your identification from the movie playing on it to the screen itself. When a wave of anxiety about the future arises, you have a choice. You can, as you have done for a lifetime, follow the anxious thoughts into the nightmare scenarios, trying to fight the fear on the level of the movie, arguing with the images, trying to change the script. This is trying to use a hammer to fix a shadow. Or you can remember the instrument. You can feel the anxiety as a sensation. Observe the frantic thoughts as passing imagery, and rest back as the aware space in which this temporary storm is appearing. You are not denying the anxiety. Thank you. You are realizing it is known by you, and therefore cannot be you. The anxiety is a ripple on the surface of the ocean. Your awareness is the ocean's depth, holding the ripple without being defined by it. This shift in identification from the content to the container is the only alchemy you will ever need. Think of the times you have been most paralyzed. A public speaker, frozen with stage fright, is completely identified with the content, the fear, the pounding heart, the imagined ridicule, the instrument, the aware presence that can hear the heart and think the thoughts is ignored. But if in that moment he could suddenly shift to being the awareness of the fear rather than the person afraid, everything changes. The fear may still be present as a sensation, but it is now held in a vast silent space. It loses its governing power. The speaker finds he can speak from that silent space, and the words that come have a clarity and authority the panicked ego could never muster. The instrument was always there. He simply forgot to use it as the screen and tried to exist as the terrifying image projected upon it. This is your practice from this moment forward, to use your awareness ace as awareness. In the midst of any conflict, instead of engaging with the rightness or wrongness of the other's position, turn your attention to the aware space in which the conflict is happening. Feel the substance of your own consciousness. In doing so, you are not solving the conflict on its own level. You are bringing the light of your true nature to shine upon it. And in that light, shadows of discord often simply dissolve, or a clear resolution presents itself without struggle. When you desire something, do not focus on the object of desire with lack. Instead, feel the aware presence that is having the desire abide, as that desire, when held in the vastness of pure awareness, often transforms from a shriek of need into a quiet signal, a directional nudge from the infinite itself, guiding you not to an object, but to a fuller expression of your being. You require no other tool. Your prayer is not a set of words, but this abiding is the instrument. Your meditation is not a timed session, but this constant returning to the screen from the captivating movie. Your entire life becomes the continuous gentle adjustment of remembering what you are. The problems of the world are solved not by fighting the darkness, but by remembering you are the light. The light does not do anything to the darkness. It merely is, and the darkness, which never had any substance of its own, ceases to be experienced. Your awareness, shining unconditionally, is that light. It is the only cause in your universe. Everything else is effect. To know this is to hold the only key you will ever need. The door was never locked. You were just looking at the door, analyzing its construction, begging it to open when all along you were the space in which both the door and the opening were appearing.